Okay. Point 6. Happiness is the status quo, therefore, of the super grace believer. Nehemiah 8:10. Psalm 30 verses 4 and 5. And verse 11. Philippians chapter 4:4. 1 Peter chapter 1 verse 8. So happiness, this sharing the happiness of God, of problem solving device number 9, is the status quo of the super grace believer. That is one of the super grace blessings that you enjoy. Point 7. Therefore, happiness is related to blessing in the plan of God. Greek word is makarios in the Greek, and the Hebrew word is asherei. Point 8. Happiness protects the believer from disillusion. Philippians chapter 4 verses 11 and 12. Hebrews chapter 13 verses 5 and 6. And that's important because as you advance on the plan of God, a lot of the pressures do become stronger. People are not what you thought you were. Also, for example, the pastor, he sees his congregation. Some of them do not learn. Some of them are antagonistic. And those who do learn are trying to learn. They're going very slow. So he's very tempted to become disillusioned. The reason why he needs happiness. The reason why every average believer needs happiness as well. Not just the pastor. Point 9. Happiness stimulates and enhances capacity for love. When you are happy with your significant other, with your spouse, then there's room for more love. If your woman is happy, you have her happy, then you bet that she's going to express herself more. If she's not happy, most likely because she's arrogant, she has some approbation lust, she's trying to get back at someone, she's worried about something, then there's no room for love at all. She's going to be worried about something, preoccupied with something else, instead of being occupied with you, husband, and vice versa. Point 10. The future happiness beyond the happiness of super grace is called phase 3 happiness. All right. So now we're getting to the area of, what is it? Grace. Oh my gosh. I forgot the name. All right. Phase 3 happiness. And all believers will have it, but there will be degrees of happiness. Jude 24. So if you're very unhappy in this moment, in this life, you're a Christian, yeah, you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ, but you're still very unhappy because you failed to execute the spiritual life. Cheer up, you're going to be happy once you're absent from the body and face to face with the Lord. Or when you're in a resurrection body, you can go out either two ways, either dying and being absent from the body, or the rapture, receiving a resurrection body. Once you're in phase 3, you're going to be very happy, extremely happy. There's going to be phase 1. So this is the entrance of the plan of God. 2, this is post-salvation spiritual life. Phase 3 is eternity. And let's go put this line down here let's put it more up just to make a point. Let's put plus H in eternity. And this is going to be the minimum. The minimum that everyone is going to have. If you're a believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, you're going to have this amount of plus H. It doesn't look like much, but it's a lot because it's already in eternity. Okay, but those who advance in the plan of God, not only do they increase in happiness of super grace, but that also determines how much happiness you're going to have in eternity future. Say that you executed the spiritual life all the way to super grace, you tapped this much happiness in time, plus H. That's going to determine how much happiness you're going to receive in eternity future. This much plus H. But if you do not execute the spiritual life, not only do you not receive those super grace blessings, but you are removed of them. You become a reversionist, you're full of scar tissue, and consequently you're very unhappy, and you make other people unhappy, and you're on the way down all the way to the sin unto death. So all these blessings are removed, but you come to a limit where you are not removed of something. Everyone is going to have this limited amount of plus H. The same can be said with reference to all the other blessings. You are removed of things whenever you become a reversionist in time. with the result that in eternity you are removed of those things. But you come to a point, a limit, where something is not taken. The limit, the lowest that you have, that everyone has, such as the resurrection body. Everyone's going to have a resurrection body. A basic plus H in eternity, which is much superior than the plus H that we have here. And so there are basic things that are not removed, even to the reversionist. But to those who do advance in the plan of God, they are given more and more and more and more, for they tap into Him in time, and as a result, they receive Him in eternity future. So the happiness in phase 3 is superior, and that is to every believer. Okay, where am I? Jude 24. Okay, point 11. There's another kind of happiness found in Bible, but it is available in the millennium, and it is universal. Isaiah 35 verses 1 and 2, 64 verses 4 and 5, 65 verses 18 and 19, 66 verse 10. The millennium is going to be perfect environment. There's not going to be religion. Satan's going to be locked up. Animals are going to be at peace. There's not going to be any war. Everyone's going to have food, and so this inevitably adds happiness, basic happiness, to everyone in the millennium. That does not mean they're going to want to have a relationship with God. However, millennium is something that we have to talk about in the near future. Point 12, the principle of human happiness must be distinguished from the happiness of God. A neutral H, from observing the laws of divine establishment for unbelievers, such as unbelievers in marriage, Ecclesiastes 11 verses 8 and 9, the unbeliever in youth, Ecclesiastes 11 verses 8 and 9 as well. Happiness when children turn out all right, Proverbs 23 verses 24 and 25. Point 13, negative principles about happiness. You cannot build happiness upon the misery of others. You cannot build happiness upon the details of life. You cannot build happiness upon pleasant environment. You cannot build happiness upon the people that you love. I talked about personal love yesterday, how much that adds unhappiness to you. You cannot build your happiness upon fame or glory. Just ask a few of these guys who've had fame in the past or glory. Just ask those who, well, you can't ask them anymore, those who have committed suicide or given themselves into drugs. You cannot build happiness upon the removal of establishment by means of violent revolution, for those communist types, or now for those MAGA types, such as January 6th, motivated by Christian nationalism. Can you believe that? Christians trying to overthrow the government, eating those lies of, the elections were rigged. I understand that in Mexico, everyone's always talking about elections were rigged, but here in the United States, I mean, it's possible, but for you to be a Christian and go and be motivated and be celebrating January 6th, then you're definitely a reversionist, distracted from the plan of God. You cannot build your happiness upon the lust pattern of the sin nature. Not at all. Sin nature, the lust pattern, is never satisfied. Momentary it might, but then you need more and more and more, and then you're frustrated. Positive principles about happiness. You can build your happiness upon the amount of doctrine inside of the soul. Good. Yes. You can build your happiness on the daily growth through the daily function of gap. Yes, all related to each other. You can build your happiness on your super grace status. That increases it. You can build your happiness on the glorification of God through the sustaining of super grace status. You can build your happiness on the status of dying grace. You can build your happiness on the observance of the laws of divine establishment. And then point 15, the ministry of refreshment. This is a specific ministry. I think all believers have it. I mean, there are candidates to have it, but only those who are super grace believers have this ministry of making people happy, at least momentary. If you're around at a party, if you're around in a business, you make the people in your periphery happy. But this does not mean they have the capacity for that happiness. It just lets them know that they're happy at the moment. There's something about you. You're in the plan of God. You're a Christian. All right. What's up with this God? So it's a way to also to point to God, that the plan of God does work, and there's a plan for them. I think also that there is the ministry of refreshment. Some people have it more. Some super grace believers have it more than others. Such as Philemon. His ministry of refreshment was huge. He was all about that. He did not have the gift of pastor, apostle, nothing. But one thing that he was outstanding about was his ministry of refreshment. The happy person provides blessing for all. Some people only experience happiness from their association with other super grace believers. Oh yes, this is very true. The happiness of the believer expands towards others by personal or verbal report. This ministry is found in Philippians 2, verses 28 to 29, Romans 16, verse 32, Philemon 7, 1 Corinthians 16, verses 17 and 18, 2 Corinthians 7, 13. All right, now we can go back to our verse and see Paul's depression. Let us begin with verse 2. We'll read way back in chapter 6, verse 11 tomorrow, okay? But right now, allow me to begin here. Make room for us. We've wronged no one. We've corrupted no one. We've exploited, defrauded no one. I do not say this to condemn you, for I have said before that y'all hold such place in our heart that we would die and live with you. This is personal love. This is appreciation towards the Corinthians from the pastors. And then he says, I have much assurance face to face with you. He knows, he's confident about that he has not done any of these things, but he's done the correct thing. That is teaching him doctrine consistently, to the point that he says, I have much assurance with you, face to face with you. I have much boasting on account of y'all. They are his boasting. I have been filled with comfort. I am supplied lavishly with happiness in all our pressures. Yes, in all our pressures. Again, let me try that. I have been filled with comfort, that is happiness poured into you in the midst of intense, way down pressure. The result is you remain even more happier after that. I get supplied lavishly. I am supplied lavishly with happiness in all our pressures. All our pressures. Okay, got that. And so now, let us go over verse 5. Let's see if we can finish the verse in these next 20 minutes or 15 minutes. Okay. So verse 5 in the NIV says, for when we came to Macedonia, we had no rest. We came to Macedonia, we had no rest, but we were harassed at every turn. Conflicts on the outside, fears within. So this is correct. But let us go over this and translate this. It goes, we have the post-positive gar. This is epexegetical. It's going to add more detail about his statement about him having been filled with comfort, and the result, him being supplied lavishly with happiness in every pressure. And so, this is the epexegetical gar. Kai here is, adjunctive. So it's for, this is a sense of for even what? And then we have this weird construction. This is a participle in the genitive case. And this is a personal pronoun, ego, in the genitive as well. Do you know anything about this? Do you recall? This is what we call a genitive absolute. What constitutes a genitive absolute? We have here a personal pronoun in the genitive and a participle, inarticular, anarthrous. It has to be anarthrous, also in the genitive. The result is that this is separated from the rest of the syntax. The genitive becomes the subject that produces the action of the genitive participle. If it was part of the rest of the syntax, you would see something like into Macedonia of ours. This genitive would belong to this, or udemian, not one of ours. No, not at all. This is separated. This becomes the subject of this participle. So we have aorist active participle of erkomai, el tonton, el tonton. And again, the personal pronoun of ego, ours. So this becomes with, so this is arrive, erkomai means arrive, aorist tense, having arrived, active voice, they produce the action of the verb, participle is part of the genitive absolute, having arrived, but with the personal pronoun, us having arrived. Literally, it would be something with us having arrived, and then we can carry on with the next sentence. But this is temporal. Most of the time, this functions temporally, so we translate it when we arrived. It is the aorist tense, so when we arrived in the past. A completed action. Well, yeah, not a completed action, but punctiliar action. There we go. When we arrived.